Unfortunately, you guys, you're going to now have to bring dessert on Easter because this classic carrot cake recipe is going to make you the star of every holiday. If you're tired of flavorless, dry slices of carrot cake, I'm going to show you how to make it even better with my grandma's super moist, old-fashioned carrot cake recipe. So let's get started, and the first thing you're going to need are whole carrots. I've already peeled these, and I'm going to put them in the food processor to shred them up. You need 3 whole cups of carrots, which is a lot, but that's the key, or I should say the first key to getting a very moist cake. So I'm going to put these in here to shred them. If you don't have a food processor, you can use a grate. You can use just a vegetable peeler like this, and you'll get peels and just chop them up. The key is you don't want chunks of carrot because nobody wants to bite into a chunky piece of carrot in their cake. So let's get started. Okay, here we go. All right, I definitely shredded way more than I need, but I do this on purpose because shredded carrots are delicious in your soups, in your stocks. You could put a little handful on a salad. My dog absolutely loves them. So we've got more than 3 cups here. So I'm going to measure out what we need and then get started. All right, let's put 3 cups in here. You'll need probably about a pound of whole carrots, maybe a little bit less. Now that we have our shredded carrots, we're going to start making the cake batter. And for that, you need 2 cups of granulated sugar, 1.5 cups of vegetable oil. Now this is where a lot of people will disagree. Some people like to use all butter. In carrot cake, I love using vegetable oil. Number 1, it's what my grandma always did. And number 2, it just adds a better flavor and texture. And you're gonna have to trust me on that. Okay, you'll need 2 teaspoons of pure vanilla extract. And you can measure it if you want to. I just like to dump in what looks like enough. And you need 4 eggs, which we are going to add in. And now you'll want to beat this up till it's all really blended. You want that sugar incorporated with the oil and the eggs. Okay, that looks great. To this, we're going to add the dry ingredients. So you need 2¼ cup of all-purpose flour. In here, I have 1.5 teaspoons of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, and 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt. And now the seasonings. This keeps your carrot cake from being bland and flavorless. Just like pumpkin desserts, you need to season your carrot desserts as well. And so in here, I have 1/4 teaspoon of ginger, 1/4 teaspoon of ground cloves. We have 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg and 2 full teaspoons of cinnamon. All right, let's mix this up. And you don't want to overbeat it, but you want to beat it enough so it's all incorporated into the sugar mixture. Beautiful. Okay, I'm going to scrape the sides of the bowl just to make sure there's no flour sticking to it, which there is a little bit. And now to the cake batter, I'm going to add in the 3 cups of shredded carrots, as well as a full cup of chopped pecans. You can keep these out if you don't like nuts in your carrot cake. You can also add an additional cup of raisins if you like that in your carrot cake. So we're going to fold all of this in. Now there will be some of you who say, I like pineapple in my carrot cake. I prefer to put a little pineapple in the frosting if you like pineapple with the carrot cake. I think it gives the frosting a really fresh flavor, and it pairs very well with the slices of carrot cake. But I don't actually put pineapple into my batter. So there is a lot of carrot in here, which adds so much moisture once it bakes up. Now we need our 9-inch cake pans. And I've got some parchment paper circles because I love having them line the pans. But first I'm going to use a little baking spray. This has the flour in it. If you don't have baking spray or you don't want to use it, you can use a little bit of lard and sprinkle it with flour to dust the pan that way. It's how my grandma always did it. And then I'm going to lay a circle of parchment paper in the bottom. This just goes that little extra step to make sure that your cake doesn't stick. And then we're gonna pour the batter evenly in the two pans. Some people like to weigh it to make sure it's completely even. I am not that kind of a person. I don't mind if one layer is just a tad thicker than the other. I am not a professional in that sense of the word. Okay, I'll spread those out and then I'll kind of eyeball to see who needs a little top off. Now these are gonna go into a preheated 350-degree oven for 38 to 42 minutes. If you wanna put it in a 13x9, you can do that and you'll bake that for about 45 minutes. So I'm going to see you back here in a little bit, which will be like 1 second for you, but about a half hour or so for me, and I'll start on the frosting. All right, we've got our cakes cooling and we're gonna make that classic cream cheese frosting, which some people might think is the best part of the cake. I think it's 50-50. I like a good balance of both. So to your mixing bowl, you're gonna add 2 blocks. Each one is 8 ounces of softened cream cheese. And you're gonna need half a cup of unsalted butter that has been softened. And now we're gonna mix this with a mixer for about 2 to 3 minutes. You want it to be pale in color, light, fluffy, and completely blended. Just gonna scrape down the sides of the bowl quick so it can keep blending. Just wanna make sure nothing gets stuck under there. This looks great. By blending the butter and the cream cheese together without any of the other ingredients, you're creating this light and fluffy texture from the start. So when you add in the sugar and the vanilla and the milk, you've already got this light and airy frosting. So with that said, we're going to add in 4.5 cups of powdered sugar. Ooh, look at that powder. We're gonna add in a full tablespoon of pure vanilla extract. And I'm gonna start blending that, and I've got a tablespoon of whole milk here that I'll add in if or as needed. Sometimes I add too much vanilla and I don't actually need the milk to get that desired consistency, but we're gonna see. All right, I'm gonna add in some of the milk just to make sure we get that creamy whipped frosting. And I'm just gonna scrape down the sides of the bowl to capture any of that extra powdered sugar that's stuck. Now, one thing with cream cheese frosting is it tends to be a little thinner than a regular buttercream. And so you're probably not going to be able to pipe this onto your cake or your cupcake. So keep that in mind. But because it gets refrigerated, it will firm up more once it's been in the refrigerator. Oh my goodness, this looks so perfect. If you're making the 13x9, you only need half a batch of cream cheese frosting because you're not making layers, so you don't need anything in the middle of a 13x9. Okay, we have our carrot cakes here. They are cooled. I'm going to try to do this without dropping it. Place the first layer on my cake plate, and then I'm going to put some of this frosting onto the top here. I want a nice layer in the center. Now we're going to take that second layer and put it over the top. Beautiful. And I like to put the frosting on and then use my offset spatula to move it to the sides of the cake. I'll show you what I mean. And I'm going to take an offset spatula and I'm going to move the frosting with the spatula down and frost it like that. But because I'm right-handed, I'm going to do this side first. This is real life, y'all, with a real dog in the house. Okay, once I've done frosting this, I'm gonna let it refrigerate for about an hour just to help that frosting firm up again a little bit, and then we'll slice into it and enjoy it together. Okay, I'm gonna put that in the refrigerator and I'll be back. All right, guys, you ready to cut into this cake? I refrigerated it for about 15 minutes just to firm up the frosting a little bit. And we're going to cut a few slices here. I'm so excited. Oh my goodness. Look at how wonderful that is. You can see how moist that crumb is. You will now be in charge of bringing carrot cake to every family holiday gathering. You're welcome. That is so good. So much flavor in the actual cake itself with all the seasonings we put in. You're gonna love this. Enjoy.